This is Dire Maul North, and this is my hunter with her loyal doggo. And today, we're gonna find out whether running Dire Maul Tribute at the very end of Classic WoW's lifetime is still profitable. Hunters have been farming Tribute runs since the start of Classic, as it has been a quick, fun, and easy way to make them quite a lot of gold solo throughout the game. I have been running it myself since this hunter reached level 60 all the way back in Phase 2. But how does it compare now? Is it still a decent money making method now that Classic has been running for almost 2 years? Let's find out. We're gonna do 10 Tribute runs, which should take me roughly 3.5 hours. And at the end, we will see how much gold I made and see if that compares well with other methods that people are doing nowadays in Classic. While we're flying to Dire Maul, let's quickly talk about the Tribute runs. For those who don't know, Dire Maul North has 5 bosses, and at the end, after you defeat the last boss, King Gordog, a chest called the Tribute chest appears. The thing is, if you manage to skip every other boss in the dungeon, each boss you skip will have some of its loot table added to the Tribute chest. If you manage to skip every boss, the Tribute chest will contain a ton of valuable items. That's why hunters have been keen on running Dire Maul throughout the game. As a hunter, thanks to a combination of your feign death ability and your pet mechanics, you can easily skip everything in the dungeon, and then use some clever pathing methods to defeat King Gordog at the end, and then have the whole chest for yourself. And that's exactly what we will be doing today. Let's look at some of the items that we can get in Dire Maul. This is the loot table of the chest once every boss has been skipped. Most of those items vendor for a quite decent amount of gold, and the ones that have a low vendor price can be disenchanted to turn them into enchanting materials that can be sold for a decent amount of gold on the auction house. But the Tribute chest is only half the story. Dire Maul also contains some other loot around the instance, mainly inside large solid chests and also dusty tomes. The chests have a very large loot table. It can range from some mediocre quality loot to some bags that sell for 20 gold, and all the way to some very rare recipes that can go for hundreds of gold. And then there's the dusty tomes, which can contain a book for a random class. Some of those books are more valuable than others, but the big ticket item in Dire Maul, which also comes from the dusty tomes, is Forer's Compendium of Dragon Slaying, which rewards warriors and paladins with the famous Quell Sarar sword. Unfortunately, nowadays with Naxxramas out, this book lost a lot of its value, but it still sells for about 40 gold on my server, which is pretty decent. So before I started this run, I made sure to completely empty my inventory of gold. I sent all my gold to an alt and only kept 1 gold to be able to take flight paths. I also crafted and bought some items that will be necessary for me to do the Tribute runs. Some arrows, obviously, food and water, some iron grenades to stun packs of mobs, 10 invisibility potions to skip a certain portion of the instance, which you will see in a moment, and 10 large Sephorium charges, which are also necessary to open the door before the final room. Hopefully, if I don't mess up, I should use up all of those items and not waste a single one. To do Tribute runs effectively as a hunter, there's also some profession requirements. First, there's engineering, which is required to use the Sephorium charges on the door previously mentioned. And then there's enchanting, which is technically not required, but not having it will deplete your gold per hour a lot, as disenchanting items which vendor or sell for less than their disenchanted value contributes a lot of gold to your run. Alright, so here I am near Dire Maul North with my loyal pet and an inventory ready for Tribute runs. So let's get started. I would say that a solo Tribute run comes in 2 parts. First, there's the run to the last boss, where you will get to use a lot of traps and grenades to stun or slow enemies. One important mechanic that you will also use is pet pulling, which consists of sending your pet into big packs of mobs. As soon as he gets aggro, you run through while he pulls them away from you. You then use your feign death on the other side, summon your pet back, and keep going until you reach the last boss. One part of the instance where doing this is just not possible is up the stairs after the second boss. There's just too many mobs that are too close to each other, and your pet would get killed instantly. So the trick there is to use an invisibility potion to run through all the mobs. You do need to be very quick though, as the potion has just barely enough time to get you through all the way up the stairs, and it does have a long cooldown on it, so you can just keep spamming one after the other. Once you've opened the door to the last room and you are ready to pull the boss, this is when part 2 of the Tribute run starts, the boss fight. You will be fighting the last boss King Gordok with another mob called Chorush, which is a caster mob. The trick to kill Gordok is to have your pet build some initial aggro and then summon him all the way at the top of the big arena spectator area. What will happen is that the boss will be chasing your pet all the way around the arena while you have jumped downstairs. As soon as he gets close to your pet, simply shoot him and gain aggro back. Wait for him to get close to you, feign death, rinse and repeat until he's dead. Obviously, this is just a simplified explanation, as one big pain in the butt that you have to deal with throughout the fight is Chorush, which will constantly try to shoot you, either you or your pet. And he will also heal Gordok once he falls under 50%. So the trick here is to drain the mana of Chorush with Viper Sting, and also by letting him shoot you a few times. Once his mana falls to 0, he pretty much stops being a threat and you can focus on Gordok instead. And that's pretty much it. That's a tribute run. Once Gordok is dead, you need to make sure to talk to the captain at the entrance of the final room, as he will add one more item to the tribute chest. Loot the chest, run out, and remember to loot the other large chests and books in the instance. There's 3 spawn points for each one of them, so there's 6 spots to check in total, but there will only be 1 chest or book per dungeon at most, so as soon as you find them, you can leave the instance. This whole process takes me personally about 10 minutes, and then 5 more minutes to leave the dungeon while checking for chests and books on the way. So if I don't mess up, I should be clearing 1 tribute run every 15 minutes. But obviously it is common to die, either on your way to the boss or during the boss, or mess up and have to restart the fight. So I would say that a more realistic number would be around 20 minutes per run on average. I am finally done. I managed to not mess up too often. I did die once before using my Invis Potion because of a feign death resist, but thankfully, since I didn't use the Invis Potion, I could still do all 10 runs. I also messed up quite a few times on the final boss, mainly because I ended up pulling the patrolling dogs. I actually end up doing that mistake quite a lot because I'm distracted with the fight, and I forget to check the minimap for the patrol. But if that happens, I usually just let my pet die or despawn him, feign death and reset the fight, which ends up costing me a couple minutes, but at least I don't have to start all over again. So, after almost exactly 3 hours of Dire Maul Tribute, I managed to collect 140 raw gold, 7 greater eternal essences, 26 large brilliant shards, 5 illusion dusts, 18 major mana potions, 31 major healing potions, and a bunch of random items from the chests. But I did manage to grab 1 hunter book, which sells for around 14 gold on my server right now. We'll see how much it actually sells for once we manage to sell everything. I also obviously invested a few gold initially for the Invis Potions and the grenades and arrows, so to account for that, I will be remaking / rebuying those items before the final results. I am back, and I'm glad to say that practically all the items finally sold. I also made sure to recraft and buy the initial items that I had to use to do the 10 runs, which leaves us with a final total grand profit of just about 275 gold, which, considering it took us 3 hours to do the 10 runs, comes up to about 92 gold per hour. So, conclusion, Dire Maul Tribute farming is still a decently viable way of making gold, but it has went down in profit a lot in the last few months. I remember making upwards of 150 to 200 gold per hour by doing Dire Maul Tribute, but nowadays, since a lot of people already have their best in slot gear and are not raiding Nax because of how expensive it is, enchanting materials went down in price, and this clearly manifests itself in the gold per hour for Dire Maul Tribute hunter farming. Now, obviously, keep in mind that your mileage may vary on your particular server. I play on Pyrowood Village EU, which is a server known for having very low priced items in general on the auction house. So this estimate is very conservative. In fact, I'm actually curious to know how much these items sell for you on your server. So please let me know in the comments how much large brilliant shards, for example, go for on your server, which is the item that brings the most revenue from tribute runs generally. With that said, I hope you found this video interesting or entertaining. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, as there will be more videos like this in the future. And I hope this video helped you get into Dire Maul Tribute runs with your hunter, hopefully if you haven't already. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye for now.